I'm Julie Barkey with Senate Update. Minnesota currently offers free breakfast for all of its kindergarten students, but that program could be expanded. Senator Alice Johnson detailed her legislation to the Senate E12 committee on Tuesday.
So the reason that we're pursuing this is because I think, as you well know, there are just numerous studies and data available about the value of giving our children a free breakfast without the stigma of being noted as having low income in your family. It's a fact that the Children's Defense Fund and Hunger Free Minnesota came out saying on any given day, 51% of our kids go to school without breakfast. Does that have an impact on our success for our students? We're talking about closing the achievement gap. Many of these students come from low-income families. And let me tell you that everyone has low income in their school districts. 65% is what the list is
65%
here.
in Minneapolis, St. Paul?
Yes.
Okay, just one quick follow-up, Mr. Chair. What's the achievement gap in Minneapolis, St. Paul? What's the graduation rate?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just trying to get at the ROI here. We're saying that we're taking these singular events and saying that these singular events in these complicated situations are somehow going to solve this problem. And I stand with Minneapolis, St. Paul, 65% free and reduced. They're getting breakfast, they're getting lunch, Mr. Chair, but the achievement gap and the graduation rates, we all know, are awful and horrendous and have not changed for quite some time. So while this is all good stuff, again, are we going to change the equation? Are we going to change the outcome with this? I would suggest we continue to target those individuals who truly need it, because I don't know that the evidence is there to suggest that adding more to this is going to help these kids, because ultimately that's what we're trying to do, is to get to improve their educational outcomes. But I don't think necessarily that's happened because of free and reduced lunch. So if we're going to do this, I would hope we can continue to target those that are in greatest need, especially in the outstate and the suburbs, instead of just throwing everybody into it. We have limited resources.
I have in front of me right now the impact study done by the University of Minnesota that estimates that childhood food insecurity costs our state approximately $642 million annually. Now, I don't know how they came to that, but what they, I assume that they are using very scientific methods, and it's not anecdotal. Their direct health costs, more likely to experience headaches, stomach aches, ear infections, and colds. Poor educational performance, 2 times more likely to repeat a grade, 3 times more likely to be suspended from school. These are all costs. And then increased child needs, special education, 2 times more likely to need counseling, 2 times more likely to suffer from depression, 5 times more likely to commit suicide, less likely to be overweight. These are the costs that we incur in our state if we don't take care of the food insecurity issues that our children are facing, as more and more children are coming from homes that are very, very low income.
Did you mention what was the rate of free and reduced in Minneapolis, St. Paul? Did we have that?
During the press conference that Senator Uyghur and a good number of other senators were talking about some initiatives, including breakfast, and one of the reporters asked me, how come you want to provide breakfast for people who can afford to pay? And my response on that day was, well, there are children that are coming from families that can afford to pay, that are hungry when they come to school, and therefore aren't really equipped to participate in the classroom. And last night during the night, I thought of it. I thought, well, why do we give people who have very high incomes iPads for their children? Why don't we let them buy their own and only buy them for low-income people? We don't do that. We don't do that with textbooks. We give the children equally what they need in order to learn.
The breakfast you have before you is an example of the majority of the breakfast that we serve at Gideon Pond Elementary in Burnsville. It is a reimbursable breakfast and allows the students a choice to eat some things right away and then save something to be consumed as a snack for later in the day. And I'm going to take this one apart to show you all. And then I do have a correction I need to make in regards to the last testimony. The apples are from Bayfield Fruit Company in Wisconsin. We love these apples. They are absolutely the perfect size for all of our little ones, and they love them. We didn't get them at the beginning of the school year, and they clamored for them. The whole grain French toast muffin loaf is from Great Northern Bakery in Minneapolis. Now, one of the corrections to the previous testimony is we can offer a protein at breakfast. There are 2 protein options. We have a hot breakfast item that can be a choice, and then we also have a protein option in what we call our daily choice. I chose to bring the most popular bag, which a lot of kids do take the protein option. So this is a string cheese. This can also sit on their desk during the day and be consumed at a later time. The milk and the juice both have straws to prevent spills in the classroom because we decided to do 2 things at one time, do a grab and go and move breakfast into the classroom. And so these are very handy to prevent spills. And one final correction, it is not a cup of vegetables that's required at breakfast. It's actually a cup of fruit and a cup of milk. So this Dynamo, which is a shelf-stable milk, is the milk that we offer. It also comes in vanilla, and the kids absolutely love it.
I feel as though we've spent a lot of this committee talking about or trying to convince people of the merits of eating breakfast and why that's important. And I don't think that really is at the core of this debate. I don't think any member on either side is debating on whether or not kids eating breakfast is a good idea. The more important question is, what is the role of the state in providing these services to people? We would agree that eating dinner is probably a good idea as well. Wearing a hat and mittens in the wintertime is also a good idea. The question is, to what extent are we going to lay out our priorities with finite resources that we have? The Senate DFL caucus has unveiled a budget that has about $500 million in funding, and not a single dollar goes onto the basic formula. Senator Hoffman, Senator Johnson, I know that you sat around the same table that I did at Okanagan's district office there off Ferry Street, and you understand the implications of that budget. If the Senate DFL caucus budget becomes law, that is going to have a significant impact on hundreds of FTEs, people who are not providing additional services over and above what we're providing today, that are actually just providing basic education in the classroom, teachers and other staff in the district. The impact of this budget would be devastating. And so the question is, $46 million means a lot to our districts, means a lot to everybody's districts. And our districts are telling us that to provide, just to continue the operations that they're running at a 2% or 2.5% rate of increase, without any new programming, without universal pre-K, without free breakfast, without any other thing that this committee can think of in terms of new programming, they're still going to make difficult decisions. Now, I've spent the last 4 years working with my colleagues in Okanagan, my DFL colleagues, and I commend them on that, and I'm happy to work with them on these issues again, beating our heads against the wall to provide some very modest increases, quite frankly, in operating budget, that basic aid that provides for all of the things that we need to do. And so it's not a question of whether or not we think breakfast is a good idea, but whether or not we want to adequately fund that which we are responsible for already.
I've worked with on this school breakfast program for a long time, but you're going to hear me get up a lot the next few weeks and say there are lots of good programs, what Senator Peterson said, but in fact, members, we are in desperate need for an inflationary increase on the formula for school districts around the state. And you're going to hear tremendous programs today. I have no argument with any of them and realize the decision rests with your lap, but I want to reinforce that before you start to add things, could we please have those funds we need so we're not looking at laying off teachers, laying off staff, or cutting programs for kids.
As you can see, many schools are deciding on their own that this is an important component of the children's learning, and just today hearing that, that Laura Metzger's, if it was Laura, who spoke here from West Tonka, saying that they're looking at going to their middle schools because they see it. And I think those administrators are smart, and I think we should applaud them for doing that.